Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Off Comix number 4, continuing our examination of this fine underground anthology. Once again, we start off with a really nice Gilbert Shelton cover of Wonder Warthog. We have another little mini epic of him in these pages. And we have a bunch of returning features plus some new ones. We have another Easy Wolf's Kangaroo Court by Ted Richards. This time John Revolta's on trial, I guess for perpetrating disco. And he's sentenced to pogo on hot coals to this punk rock band. And it's interesting. This is from 1978. And not only this comic, there's quite a few references to punk rock in here. Most of America didn't even know what punk rock was, but most of these guys are from San Francisco. So it's kind of interesting that punk rock was just this new thing, and these old hippies were at least knowledgeable about it, though a lot of times they're just making fun of punk music, like they don't really seem to understand it, you know, a little generation gap thing. And they kind of make fun of it the same way a 45-year-old mad cartoonist would have at the time. We have the fabulous Freak Brothers in The Fourth Freak Brother by Gilbert Shelton and Paul Mavrides. So Paul Mavrides is inking all of this probably, and maybe even helping drawing some stuff in it. I was never quite sure the breakdown. This is kind of a sequel to the Freak Brothers story we read, I think either last issue or the previous one, where Phineas meets this cop. The cop kind of has a nervous breakdown, and he ends up living with the Freak Brothers. After a party, he gets so stoned, he just sleeps over, and he just ends up like crashing at their pad. And basically there's a drug deal, whatever. I'm not going to really get into it since, like I've said before, these are reprinted in the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers comics, which we looked at about a year ago. You can check them out if you want to see these comics in depth. Suffice to say, the art's really nice. I really like when Mavrides inks Shelton. That's a great ending. So it's another great one. I'm just not talking about it because I already did. Next, we have a Griffith Observatory by Bill Griffith. New Yorkers. This time he sets sights on the New Yorkers. And this is kind of typical stuff. New Yorkers are all loud and opinionated. They love to tell you about how New York is better than every other city, no matter where they are. Even though Bill Griffith grew up in Long Island, which is, different than growing up in the city. But he's, at this point, has been living in San Francisco for quite a while. They're basically, like New Yorkers, they live in a cesspool, basically, crime-ridden cesspool. But they'll defend the worst aspects of their city. Some kind of perverse fixation of theirs. Whenever they're in another city, all they do is complain. Like there's not enough culture for them, or fine restaurants or whatever. Another one, this one's the Rednecks, and it's self-explanatory. This one must have been suggested by R. Crumb, because he gives a tip of the hat to R. Crumb. And this is about how, I guess, rednecks can't drive under 50 miles an hour. How they love to gorge themselves at, like, steakhouses. Then he just shows all of these things of the redneck lifestyle examples, like these tacky wigs. But this last panel cracks me up so much. It's this woman holding her baby, and she's giving her baby a matching bouffant, like a really bad bouffant hairstyle. This panel cracks me up. I love that. That's worth the price of admission right there. Next, we have a new feature, Mom Squad meets Dr. Cruel. This is by R. Diggs. Kind of interesting seeing R. Diggs with his, great cartooning, kind of political cartooning style, doing like a mock genre story. So the Mom Squad are these two women. They're like kind of agents for Mother Earth. And I guess they've been in space for a while. And they're returning to Earth I wonder if the Bionic Woman was out with Lindsay Wagner at this point, because I wonder, I kept thinking of Lindsay Wagner, like he was trying to draw her. Either way, I really like the way he draws this blonde woman. So Dr. Cruel's hanging out with his, flunky Boris. And I guess he's created this giant robot that's just going to destroy nature, basically. He wants to get rid of nature because it's not orderly. And he wants the world to be more systematic and predictable. And, nature you can't really predict. So Mother Nature cries out, a radio transmission cries out to the mom squad. She's like, help me. I'm in trouble. So back to Dr. Cruel and Boris. And the mom squad land on Earth. It seems like they've been away for a while because they're surprised at how polluted and unnatural everything is. All the concrete and belching smoke and everything. Seems like they're quite formidable, though. They're like super top secret agent types, And they break into this laboratory, and they basically sabotage the robot. They twisted a couple wires in it and took a little piece from it. So when Boris activates the robot, it explodes. Look at this amazing panel. I love this panel. This great lettering. And I love this, how it's like almost every bolt and spring from the robot he draws. I would love this as a t-shirt. That would be a great t-shirt. And here's just a big crater where the laboratory was. And we see Dr. Cruel and Boris riding off on a bicycle. Curses foiled again. Next we have Dealer McDope does the snow shuffle. That's hard to say. The Snow Shovel Shuffle. It is by Dave Sheridan. God, this is just so beautifully drawn. Dave Sheridan's got so much drawing chops. This is really nice. Though I gotta say, I do not like these Dealer McDope stories. They're not funny. They're not interesting. And in this one, Dealer McDope is his pop business is going under. It's not doing well. So a friend suggests he gets into the cocaine dealing business. And basically that's what this trip is. It's just him buying drugs, finding people to sell them to. It's just pretty boring. Not really much of a plot. And none of the jokes are funny. He's going to sell a buttload of coke to this rock band, the Distant Cousins. These guys here. And they give him the money, and he's going to go get the coke. And then I think his intermediary calls him and says, bad news. The Distant Cousins have gone punk, and they heard that punks don't do cocaine. They only do barbiturates and Thorazine. So once again, a punk reference. And but also they don't really seem to know what they're talking about. Punks liked cocaine just fine. And so Dealer McDope, I guess, has to go back and return the money and get the cocaine back. Here they are as punk rockers now, the Distant Cousins. And then he's got a little bit of the cocaine, a little sample. And because he's returned the coke to the intermediary guy. And he's like, at least I got that. And he goes into a men's room at a gas station. He's about to do a line. And this big bumblebee basically distracts him, and he drops him in the toilet. Oh, God. What a crap story. But, man, it's so nice to look at. It's kind of funny how when I was a kid, I never wanted to read the Fabulous Freak Brothers because I never did pot. I was like straight edge. I didn't even do liquor or booze really until my 30s. I tried it every now and then, but I didn't like it. And so I thought Fabulous Freak Brothers would be like a bad Cheech and Chong skit. I just thought, it's going to be all this drug humor, but nothing really good. And then, of course, I read them and fell in love with them because Gilbert Shelton's a great storyteller. doesn't matter that he's talking about drugs. And but it's funny because these dealer McDope stories are what I thought the Freak Brothers were going to be like. You know, it's just like all those comedians in the 70s who could get a cheap laugh just by mentioning cocaine. Just like, I did some coke last night, and the crowd would go, yeah, woo. We have another Dorman's Doggy by Fulbert Sturgeon. And once again, some cute dog antics. What's his name? Ping. Ping the dog has got fleas. So they get him a new flea collar, and they spray him with flea spray. And of course, he just is like, why do they do such terrible things to me? You know, he doesn't understand. And once again, Ping is just very pathetic. He has an accident. He pees on the floor. The owner throws all of his clothes on Ping because he's sleeping on his underwear. So he just throws all of his clothes on him in a big bundle. And Ping just doesn't move. He's like, oh, this must be some kind of penance. Dogs will really do that. I remember doing that with my dog sometimes. There's always something on him. He's just like, I don't care. So these are just cute dog stories, but they're really well done. And I really like this. I'm really becoming a fan of this 70s Fulbert Sturgeon art. And now we got another little mini epic of Wonder Warthog, Sudden Death, in which Wonder Warthog joins a football team. So he signs a contract for $10,000. He's never played in his life, but of course he's 9 feet tall and weighs 650 pounds. So they're like, I'm sure we can use him. They have to make a special helmet for him. And I like how Gilbert Trenton always thinks about the technical stuff and has a solution. Because, you know, his big snout, he's like, yeah, I guess we could fabricate a helmet from this flagpole mount, which would actually really work. It's like, Gilbert Trenton actually takes time to be like, how could we make a helmet for him in a practical way? His first practice, Wonder Warthog's terrible. He literally doesn't even know how football's played. But he's very strong. And that's what they care about. The whole time we see this sports journalist, Butch Heffalump, with doing these little interludes, kind of talking about Wonder Warthog in the sports pages. So Wonder Warthog finds out from one of his teammates, one of his roommates, that he makes $50,000 a year. And Wonder Warthog's like, that's not fair. I only get $10,000. And the guy says, I don't know, dude, get a lawyer or something. So before the game starts, Wonder Warthog tells the coach he's not going to play unless he gets more money. And the coach says, fuck you, you signed a contract. And so basically, Wonder Warthog just sits on the bench and doesn't play. It's a really bad game for the Motherlode Bungers. That's the name of the team. A lot of their players are getting injured. The second quarter ends, scores 0-0. And Wonder Warthog is still hanging out. He describes the halftime show in quite a lot of detail. Oh, here we go again. Above the Muslim Tabernacle Choir sings a stirring medley of punk rock classics. So the coach sees Wonder Warthog. He's like, what are you still doing here? And the coach finally submits. Says, fine, I'll pay you $50,000 a year. And more guys get injured. It's not going well for the Motherlode Bungers. So they finally put Wonder Warthog in the game. He basically takes it personally. he's like, you guys hurt my friend, the guy they injured. So he's going to take it out on the whole team. Kind of interesting that he doesn't show it. He just shows the sportscasters' reactions to what Wonder Warthog is doing. And it's pretty funny. Wonder Warthog not only beats the shit out of the whole football team, he runs to the stands, the sidelines, and starts beating up everyone on the bench and then chasing the coach around with the bench. And then he jumps into the crowd and the opposing team, he starts beating up everyone in the crowd. And then the announcers are like, maybe he's going to head this way and beat us up too. We got to get out of here. And then we just see this panel of them. They obviously hastily exited. This is a really good one as far as comic timing. Well, the art's really nice. And we see more of these articles. I guess the other team had a forfeit because nobody would even admit to being on the team. The Dog Bites, the Des Moines Dog Bites was their name. So they win, I guess, by default, the Bungers. And now Wonder Warthog's star is on the rise. We see him on the cover of Sports Illustrated and Rolling Stone. Meanwhile, Wonder Warthog gets a new roommate. It's the new quarterback that they just hired from college, right out of college. And he tells Wonder Warthog that he's making about, like, I don't know, $12 million for a 6-year contract. So Wonder Warthog storms up to the owner. Or is this the coach? One of those guys. I think it's the owner. He says, Wonder Warthog says, look, I'm on the cover of all these magazines. I'm the star here, and I'm criminally underpaid. And he says, you're looking for a fight, Hog? Try fighting the bungered lawyers. And there's like literally like 75 lawyers come running down the stairs going, up, 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 as if they were a football team. And they're speaking legalese at him. And Wonder Warthog's like, and he flies out of there. He says, how can I fight this? This is so silly. He says, I know. I'll recruit an army from the natural enemies of the lawyers, the doctors. And soon doctors and lawyers are engaged in bloody combat in the hollowed halls of a government building. It's so ridiculous. Turns out it's just a bad dream. And so Wonder Warthog says, Coach, I spend so much time worrying about my money and my salary that I can't concentrate on the game. So they make a deal where the coach says, how about this, Wonder Warthog? Every game, I'll just give you anything you want, especially if we win. So, Wonder Warthog, he gets a dinner for 30 at a fancy restaurant that night. It's all for him, though, of course. He's going to eat all the food. He gets a car. He gets a big TV. He even gets a room full of comic books. But basically, that's what he's taking instead of pay. And Wonder Warthog thinks he's got the better end of the deal. We see him every game he's playing. He's thinking of what he's going to get next. King-size waterbed. So this guy has saved the organization millions of dollars. Because Wonder Warthog, they're basically paying him nothing. They've only paid him $600 for the comic books because they couldn't get that for free. Most of the merchandise is free anyway. So they're headed to the Super Bowl, or they call it the Hyper Bowl here. And finally, Wonder Warthog, they say, what do you want next time? You've already got all this cool shit. And he says, I want to be captain of the team. And he's so valuable that the coach just fires the captain and makes Wonder Warthog the captain. And so the next week, he demands that he gets to run with the ball. I didn't mention this, Wonder Warthog's defensive lineman. And the coach says, you really can't do it. It's just not done. Defensive guys don't run with the ball. They'll fumble it. But, of course, Wonder Warthog insists. He says, I'll quit if I can't. So they make this special play just for Wonder Warthog. The Big Pig Flip-Flop Surprise. And he really describes it. I wonder if Gilbert Shelton's a football fan. And they totally get into the nitty-gritty of it, like, oh, and then this guy passes off to this guy, and there's a double reverse, and Wonder Warthog is successful. He makes the touchdown. So now they're at the Hyper Bowl. That was the playoffs. And Wonder Warthog has now demanded to be the quarterback. So he's now the quarterback. And this ending just is kind of dumb, where all of a sudden he bolts from the field, runs into the locker room, and he says, I can't think in all this confusion. I can't remember any of the plays. I'll have to change into my alter ego, Virtuoso. He can concentrate better than me. But just not even thinking. I know Wonder Warthog's a moron, but not even thinking like, yeah, but you're going to be 5'1" and a little wimp. So it doesn't matter. So he turns into Virtuoso, runs out to the field. Look at him in his outfit. And of course, it's a massacre. It's the Motherlode Bungers lose horribly. And they find the near lifeless body of Virtuoso wedged in between the AstroTurf like 2 days later when they're cleaning up the stadium. And I guess basically Virtuoso spends the next few months recuperating and promising never to play football again. Here we have Joel Beck, who I can't remember. I don't think he's been in this much. Was he? It might have been the first issue. Can't remember. But this cartoon cavalcade presents Clone, Sweet Clone. Not that funny. It's just making jokes about clones. So each panel is just a different gag. I guess clones was a hot topic then. Yeah. Not really much to talk about here. Two pretty dumb gags. But Joel Beck's got that, like, very funny style. I want to like these. I want to be entertained by them and laugh, but because the art. But I couldn't. And then we have another beautiful Gilbert Shelton back cover, once again showing off his architectural acumen. This is the Rip-Off Press Resort for the bigwigs of Rip-Off Press. And it's this amazingly bizarre design building. There's like gabled roofs and a geodesic dome. And just all this weird architecture smushed together. There's a windmill on top. And this beautiful grounds. There's a lake, a beach. Looks like a miniature golf. Oh, not miniature golf. They're playing croquet. But once again, this is really just an ad for a Rip-Off Press catalog. But Gilbert Shelton really gets into these, man. He really labors over these. He had a very rich fantasy life. So there you go, guys. Rip-Off Comics number 4. Hope you like this issue. I think it's another good issue. Of course, there's some duds in here, just like any anthology. But just the solid level of cartooning in these is always solid. It's always very high-level cartooning going on here. And I just wish some of the writing was a little funnier and or better. But overall, I really like these, and they're fun as hell. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.